So let's do this. It rains.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম স্যার।
Yes.
স্যার আজকে আমাদের কয়েকজনের কুইজ নেওয়ার কথা ছিল।
Gigi, মনে আছে? I could remember.
ওকে স্যার।
So come to Google Classroom at time 2 p.m. Then we will take the quiz. So P is it rains. What is Q? What is Q?
It does not rain or Disha does not study.
Disha
Will not study.
will not.
It
Sir.
does not rain or Disha will not study.
Disha will not study. So I assume P is it rains and Q is Disha will not study.
Sir, Q is it does not rain or Disha will not study.
Okay, wait. I just assume P is it rains and Q is Disha will not study. Then not P or Q means it does not rain or Disha will not any problem with this? Do you have any problem with this? Any problem?
No, sir.
If you don't have any problem, so what is this? Not P or Q. How can I write this? This is nothing but logical equivalent to P implies Q. Any problem?
No,
By
sir.
definition, by definition. So I have P and I have P implies Q. So Q. Simple. Any more problems? So what will be the inference? Inferring this will not study. Ninja Shahab? Ninja Ma'am?
Yes, sir. বুঝেছি।
Okay, sir.
আরেকটা ছিল কোয়ান্টিফাইড এক্সপ্রেশন সিম্পলিফাই করো।
বলেন।
Not all x
Not all x
bracket px and qx
px and qx
bracket closed or qx.
or qx. We have to simplify this. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is nothing but there is a not at the beginning. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So if you take not in the mid, insert this all x would become some x. Okay, and not px so if you consider this one p, this one q, this one also q, it is nothing but p and q or q. So what can you apply here? What can you apply here? What is this? Using absorption, we can write q. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes, sir.
After line why the net connection is so bad? By absorption, you can write this. So it would become
qx sum x qx ও আচ্ছা
yes,
sum x এ ভুল করছি।
sum x not qx. This would be the answer. All right. Any more question?
আর স্যার একবার একবার লাস্টেরটা কোয়ান্টিফাইড মানে প্রিসিডেন্স এন্ড অ্যাসোসিয়েটিভ, এটা মানে
ওটা ওটা সবাই
আহ,
পারছে, ওটার তো
আচ্ছা
প্রবলেম কিছু, ওটা
আচ্ছা,
কেউই
আমার
ভুল করে।
আমার কোনটা আরো একটা ভুল গেছিল, কোনটা জানো? আচ্ছা না না না, আর ভুল জানি, আরেকটা অ্যান্সার করে নিই।
হ্যাঁ, ওকে, sure, should we start today's class?
স্যার লাস্ট এক্সামের হাইয়েস্ট মার্ক কত ছিল?
9. 9 is the highest mark. But don't worry, still we have lot of exam, so don't worry.
ওকে স্যার।
Okay, so let's start today's class. Let's so let's try some. So let's solve some problems. So what is function composition? Can you tell me? What is function composition?
I think it's combining two or more functions.
So let's assume f is a function from g is a function from this. Let's assume g is a function from a to b and f is a function from b to c. Then f o g x is nothing but f g x, and f o g is a function from a to c. Do you agree with me or not? Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So remember, at first we have to do gx. So when we are doing gx, it goes from a to b. So when we do the outer function f, we require the codomain of the inner function should be domain of the outer function. So remember, codomain of G should be equal to domain of F. Then only this composition is possible. Okay. Same way, if we write in the other way, let's assume G. So this is point number 1. Number 2, if G and F is a function from A to B and G is a function of B to C, then we can do G of X, which is nothing but G fx, and G of F is a function from A to C. Here we have to make sure codomain of codomain of codomain of F
F
is equal to
equal to
domain of G.
G.
We have to make sure of this. All right, then only you can do function composition. So let's give you an example. Let's take this way. Let's assume my function is R to R. And G is also function from R to R. Fx is equal to twice x plus 3 and gx is equal to x cubed. Okay. So if this is the case, then what is the function composition? Find out. F of gx and g of fx. All right, guys. Done. Now tell me, what would be f of gx?
2x cube plus 3.
So this is nothing but f of g of x. Now what is gx?
2x plus 3 whole cube. Sorry, এটা gx
একটু করে। It is nothing but fx cube.
হ্যাঁ
Now fx is equal to twice x plus 3. Or fy, if we replace x with y, it is nothing but twice y plus 3.
plus 3.
So instead of y, if we put x cube, we will get 2x cube plus 3.
Plus
Right?
3.
Now, what is domain of this function? For
All real numbers.
what is domain of f of g? Domain of f of g. So the domain of f of g is nothing but domain of g, which is nothing but R. What is codomain of f of g? Codomain of f of g is nothing but codomain of f. Codomain of f, which is nothing but R. Now, what is actually range of this function?
R to R.
Think carefully. So, this one might be positive or negative.
Yes.
So, x cube might be greater or equal to 0, or x cube might be lesser or equal to 0. So, 2x cube plus 3 might be greater or equal to 0, and 2x cube plus 3 might be lesser or equal to 0. So, range is also all the real numbers.
Real numbers.
Now, let's do g of fx. G of fx is nothing but g of f of x. So it is nothing but g twice x plus 3
Plus 3
whole cube.
whole cube.
The same argument.
স্যার জিটা চলে যাবে তাহলে।
Then same argument. Gx is equal to x cube, gy equal to y cube. So even instead of y, if we put twice x plus 3, we get twice x plus 3
Okay.
whole cube.
স্যার রাইট সাইডে যে দুইটা স্টেপ gx ইকুয়াল টু x কিউব gy ইকুয়াল টু y কিউব, কেউ যদি এই স্টেপ দুটো না দেখে ডিরেক্ট
No problem, no
আচ্ছা
problem, no problem. আমি আমার for my own interest, I did this thing so that I'm not making any mistake. No problem. So it is nothing but twice x plus 3. So what would be domain? Domain of g of x is nothing but domain of f. So domain of f is nothing but R. Codomain is nothing. Codomain of g of f is nothing but codomain of g, which is also R. What is range? Twice x plus 3
2 plus
can be greater or equal to 0, or twice x plus 3 might be smaller or equal to 0. So twice x plus 3 whole cube might be greater or equal to 0, and twice x plus 3 whole cube might be lesser or equal to 0. So range
range
is
R.
also R. All right. So this is the GOF. So let's do another problem. So GOF function composition is done. Now let's try with inverse. So what is the definition of inverse function? What is the definition of inverse function? What is the definition of inverse function?
Reverse another function.
Reverse another function. What is reverse another function? At first, we need to know identity function. What is identity function? What is identity function? Anybody? Come on.
Always returns same value.
Good. Very good. So let's assume 1. It is represented by a 1. Let's assume the domain of the identity function is A, and codomain of the identity function should be also A, because it is mapping to its own. Then after writing 1, we should write 1A, so that we can understand what is the domain and codomain. Now what is the definition of identity function? For all x belongs to A, 1A
One
x is equal to x.
x.
So this is the definition of identity function. So this definition is very important in defining inverse function. So how can we define inverse function? How can we define inverse function? Let's assume f is a function from A to B. Then how can you define inverse function? There is a g from B to A such that G composition F is equal to 1B, and F composition G is 1A, then G is called inverse function of F, and write as G equal to F inverse. Is the definition clear to you guys? Is the definition clear to you guys? কথা বলেন প্লিজ।
স্যার আরেকবার একটু বুঝাবেন।
কোথায় সমস্যা? সমস্যার প্রবলেম, হোয়ার ইজ দ্য প্রবলেম?
স্যার জি অফ এফ ইকুয়াল টু 1b এখান থেকে আর কি।
এটা বোঝা গেছে, আইডেন্টিটি ফাংশন বোঝা গেছে।
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
আইডেন্টিটি ফাংশনটা কি? ছবিটা দেখেন, এটা মনে করো আমার এ,
হুম।
এখানে there are lot of elements, am I right?
Yes.
So 1a is such a function, each element is mapping to itself. Did you get it? Self loop. Got it?
Yes.
Each element is mapping to itself. Self loop. Those are called identity function. Now, what is the definition of inverse function? I want to find out the inverse of f. Then I have to find such a function g. F is mapping from a to b. So I have to find inverse function of f. That means I have to find a function which maps from b to a such that g composition f is nothing but identity function of b, and f composition g is nothing but identity function of a. Then g is called inverse function, and write as g. Depiction to again. Let's see the depiction. So let's assume this is my a, this is my b, this is my a, this is my b. So there are elements there. So function f mapping one element from here to here. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes.
I have to find out the inverse function. That means I have to find a function which is mapping this element. Let's say this one is nothing but x. This is nothing but y. So f maps x to y. So I have to find out a inverse function. That means g such that y can mapping to x.
Okay.
This is my g. Then it will call f inverse. So how can I find this g? How can I find this g? So what is happening here? The whole process is something like this. F is mapping from x to y, then g is mapping back y to x. Then what is the whole process? Whole process is nothing but f composition g is a
Is mapping back to
x mapping back to x, and that is the definition of what? This is the definition of 1a. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes, sir.
And same way, what is g doing? G is mapping y to x, and f is mapping x to y. So g of f is what is doing? Y mapping to y. So g of f is nothing but identity function of 1b. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes.
Yes.
So that is the definition. It says the same thing. Done.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. So how can we find that one? That is the $1,000,000 question. So let's try to solve the problem. So let's write this. Let's assume f is a function from R to R. Fx is equal to 3x plus 4. Find out inverse of f domain codomain okay. So fx is 5x plus 4. And what it is doing, this is my domain, this is my codomain. So we can say if domain one point is x, it is mapping to a point y, which is nothing but 3x plus 4. So this is f. So let's consider fx. So this point is also f to the function fx. So let's consider this point is y. So y equal to thrice x plus 4. Now what we require to do? We require to do what? We have to convert this y point to x, and we have to find a function for delta. That is nothing but g. So if we want to map y to x, we need to express x as a function of y. Do you agree with me or not? Do you agree with me or not?
Yes, sir.
We try to find out the reverse mapping, y to x. That means input. Right now, in f, input is x, output is y. In g, I have to find out the reverse thing. Input is y, output is x. So if I try to find out that one, then y need to be, sorry, x need to be expressed as a function of y. So how can I do that? Just do a little bit. 3x is equal to y minus 4, or x equal to y minus 4 divided by 3. So that means what? That means what? That means, so this is nothing but g of y. G of y is nothing but y minus 4 divided by 3. Now, if you replace y with x, you get gx is equal to x minus 4 divided by 3. So this is nothing but f inverse. F inverse x is equal to x minus 4 divided by 3. Did you get the point?
Yes, sir.
So what is the domain? What is the domain? So domain of f inverse is nothing but codomain of f. So it is R. What is codomain?
R.
Codomain of f inverse x is nothing but domain of f, which is nothing but R.
R.
What is range?
Range হচ্ছে range করে দাও।
Sir, range with all
What is the
real
range? All real numbers. Yes.
All real numbers.
আচ্ছা ছোট্ট একটা প্রবলেম করাই, as at the last class we are facing problem with finding range, so let's solve a problem. So let's do this thing. F is up to R, fx equal to 2x square plus 3. Find out domain, codomain, and range. Now tell me, what would be domain for this? What would be the domain for this? What is the domain of this function? Domain is nothing but R. Am I right?
Yes.
What is codomain?
R.
Codomain is also R. What is range?
Greater than or equal to 0.
No.
No,
See,
no, greater than or equal to
x square, wait, x square is greater or equal to 0. So 2x square is also greater or equal to 0. 2x square plus 3 should be greater or equal to 3. So range would be starting from 3 to plus.
3 to plus infinity.
Okay. So this is the case. So this, be careful about finding the range. আমরা কতগুলো থিওরাম দেখি, কতগুলো থিওরাম একটু প্রমাণ করি। থিওরামগুলো ইম্পর্টেন্ট। এটা দেখি, সহজটা দিয়ে শুরু করি। Prove that in other words, function composition is associative. So how can I prove this one? We have to prove function composition is associative. How can we do that one? Any idea? Guys?
স্যার দুই পাশে সিম্পলিফাই করে ইকুয়ালস দেখা।
Wonderful. Yes, that is the thread. That is the technique. Just apply the definition. So let's take the LHS. Left hand side is F G X. It is nothing but, this is nothing but F for G HX so it is nothing but F G HX
স্যার এটা কি এফ জি এইচ এক্স হবে? আমার কেমন যেন একটু ইয়া লাগতেছে।
so this is by definition কি বলছেন?
না স্যার কন্টিনিউ করো, আমার মানে কেমন যেন এই দুইটা
কনফিউশন জাস্ট এটাকে, এই অংশটাকে, এটাকে ধরেন আপনি এই পুরো অংশটাকে ধরেন এফ ও জি কে ধরেন হচ্ছে পি আর এইচ কে ধরেন কিউ, তাহলে পুরো জিনিসটা কি দাঁড়ায়? পুরো জিনিসটা দাঁড়ায় পি ও কিউ এক্স, রাইট? দিস ইজ নাথিং বাট পি কিউ এক্স. নাও just put inside the value of p, which is nothing but f composition g, right? Then there is no confusion. Simple.
Thank you.
Just use your intuition. Simplify. So this is the left hand side. How about the right hand side? How about the right hand side? F O G O H X. So if we simplify, we can write F G O H X right? So it is nothing but f of G of H of X. Okay. Okay, guys. So it is by definition. It is also by definition. So LHS equal to RHS. QET. Did you get the point? Did you buy the point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. এরপর একটা theorem, next theorem. It is very, very important. It is very, very important. What did it say? This is a very important theorem. So let's go. Try to prove that. Let's assume G is a function from G is a function from let's say what? Prove that if F and G are both 1 to 1 and 1 to, then G composition F is also 1 to 1 and 1 to. Did you get it? Did you buy it? Is there a problem with the theorem? Guys,
No, sir.
it means, see, let's see the depiction. Picture is important sometimes. F is a function from F is a function from A to B. So this is A, this is B, and something like this. G is a function from B to C. It is something like this. So this is the whole composition process. Am I right? So this is the GOF. The whole process is GOF. So we can assume this is a point X, this is a point Y, this is a point G. So F mapping a point in A to B and G mapping a point from B to C. So the composition GOF pointing at a point A to C. Okay. So X to Y, Y to G. That is the composition, definition of composition. Now what the theorem says? Theorem says, first one, if F and G are both 1 to 1, that means any element in B in case of F is only connected to one element in Y, and any element in G in case of G only connected to one element in B, then the whole function is also one to one. That means this composition, in case of composition, any point in C, that is G, is connected to only one point in A, that is X. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
And second point argues, if F is onto, that means the whole codomain, in this case B is used, and G is onto, that means whole C is used, then for G O F, the whole C is also used. So this is the second argument. So how can you prove that? ছবিটার মধ্যে প্রমাণ হয়ে আছে. If you can understand the picture carefully, the proof is already there.
But এটা লজিকে কিভাবে বলবো মানে ইয়াতে
Yes, that is the point. That is the point. How can you use your previous concepts, definition, and logical arguments to prove this kind of things? It is a very simple. Because if you take any point in C, let's say G, G is directly related with only one point in B. Am I right? That is why. G is mapping directly related with Y by definition, because G is one to one. Again, if you take any point in B, in this case it is Y, is connected to only one point in X by one to one of F. So definitely G is connected to only one point in X. Simple. So one argument is done. We have to express this in logic. Sorry. How about the second point? If you take F, for F whole B used. Again, if you take G, if whole B is used, then whole C is also used. So definitely it is one. Simple. The same, you have to apply this. For F, whole B is used. If whole B is used, for G, whole C is used. So that is the catch. This is the first catch. This is the second catch by the picture. So we have to convert this observation to the logic. So how can you do that? So let's try this. Number 1 point, 1 to 1. So think this way. F is 1 to 1. F is 1 to 1. So what is the definition of 1 to 1 function? So all A1, A2 belongs to A. FA1 equal to FA2 implies A1 equal to A2. Am I right? So this is the definition of, by definition of 1 to 1. By definition of 1 to 1. FA1 equal to FA2, then are you guys listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any query?
No, sir. Just follow.
Okay. So this is the definition of 1 to 1. As F is a 1 to 1, so this is the case. Again, all B1, comma B2 belongs to B. F, that is G, GB1 equal to GB2 is implies B1 equal to B2 by definition of one to one. Kind of like an of F of G. Now we have to merge these two. So how can we merge these two? How can we merge these two? Let's assume দেখেন এইভাবে assume মার্জটা কিভাবে হয় margin how can I do the margin? See. So, see. A1, f is a function from A to B. Am I right?
Yes.
So, A1 and A2 belongs to A. Am I right?
Yes.
Then FA1 and FA2, what they belongs to?
They belong to
Belongs to B. Good. And in this case, see, B1 and B2 belongs to where? B. So, and FB1, FB2 belongs to where? C. Am I right? Tale, why don't we consider this one as this? Consider B1 is equal to FA1, B2 equal to FB2. We can assume that one, FA2. Am I right? It is possible.
স্যার সি আসলো কোথা থেকে?
C আসলো যখন আমরা সরি এটা G হবে G we consider this is G. All right?
স্যার তাও সি আসলো কোথা থেকে? আমার কনফিউশন ক্লিয়ার হয়নি।
C আসলে হচ্ছে গিয়ে কারণ হচ্ছে গিয়ে G mapping B to C.
ও আচ্ছা এইটার সাথে রিলেটেড।
G. So we are done with our argument. So we can consider now we know that know what? We know that GB1 is equal to GB2 or GFA1 is equal to GFA2. So it is nothing but implies FA1 equal to FA2, which implies nothing but A1 equal to A2. So let's give this one number 1, this one number 2. So, and let's give this one number 3. So this is by 3, this is by 2, this is by 1. So we are done with first part. So this is the, according to this and this, GOF is 1 to 1. Did you get it? Did you buy it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Now let's go to second part. What is the second part? We have to prove onto. GOF is onto. So how can we prove GOF is 1 to? We have to prove codomain. Prove that codomain of GOF is equal to range of GOF. We have to prove this. So how can I prove that one? Quite simple. Very simple. Take any G belongs to C. Take any G belongs to C. We can find some Y belongs to B such that G of Y equal to G. Did you get it? By it? Again, take any Y belongs to B, we can find by onto of G. Find sum x belongs to A such that function of x equal to y by onto of x. Let's consider this on 1, let's consider this on 2. So if we call by 1 and 2, what can we write? Just replace this y with this fx. So g of f of x equal to g, or g of f x equal to g. That means for any g belongs to C, we can find sum x belongs to A. So QED, done. Did you buy it? So this is the proof. All right, guys. Before leaving, let's talk about one of the important function, special function. So let's talk about that. Did you find the proof? Is it easy or difficult?
It's difficult.
It is difficult. This type of proof is very important. This proof, the last proof, always comes to exam. So remember, it is very important to know.
The last প্রুফটা আরেকবার একটু করবে না, আমার মানে পুরোটাই কেমন একটু ভাবলা লাগবে।
এটা হচ্ছে কি যেদিন আমরা করব, প্রবলেম সলভ করব, that দিন issue this question, okay? So please remember, you have problem with this and then issue that question. Okay, special function. One special function is called floor function. Another one is called ceiling function. Now, what is the symbol of floor? এই যে নিচের দিকে, it is extended in the downwards. Am I right? Two bar but extended in the downwards. It is called floor because floor is downwards. Did you get it?
Yes.
And what is ceiling? Two bar extended upwards. So ceiling is up. That's it is ceiling. Did you get it?
Yes.
Now what is floor? Let's assume 5.4. So floor function always discard the fractional point. So 5.4 would become 5. Then 5.1 would become
5.
5.9 would become
5.
5. 5 would become
5 would stay 5.
5 is still 5. So only integer is remains same. Okay. Now let's go to ceil function. Ceil make it upwards. So what is the case? 5.4 ceil. What is the answer? 6. 5.1 ceil. What is the answer? 5.9 seal. What is the answer?
6,
5 seal. What is the answer?
5.
5. Good. Now, how can you define floor and seal function?
জানি না।
মজার কথা। জানি না বললে তো হবে না।
স্যার যেটা যেটা জানি না সেটা জানি বলবো কিভাবে বলেন?
বলতে হবে।
স্যার
Think.
বেসিক্যালি
You
যেটা
have to
হচ্ছে
think. So the person, let's talk about different issue. The person who invented these things, seal and floor, they even know this function. At the very beginning, they did not know this function. Somehow they come up with the answer, right? So that's why I told you, think. So let's write this. So what is floor?
floor is basically discarding any decimal places.
Let's assume x is equal to n plus epsilon, where
N is the whole number and epsilon is the decimal.
aste, where n is the nearest integer in expression. You can write it this way. Where n is the nearest integer and epsilon is 0 greater than epsilon smaller than 1. Then floor of x is nothing but n. Did you get it? Did you get it?
Yes.
And how can you represent seal? X equal to n plus epsilon, where n is the nearest integer and 0 greater than epsilon smaller than 1, then x seal is nothing but n plus 1.
No,
Am I right?
No, sir. এখানে 0 less than or equals to টা হবে না। equals to টা বাদ যাবে।
Equals to the কোনটা?
0 less than or equal to epsilon less than 1. ওখানে 0 less than or
Oh,
equal
yeah. Wonderful. Yes, good observation. Good. 0 equal to 1. Wonderful. Yes, true. So how can you define this nearest integer? How can I define this nearest integer? এটা তো একটা কথা হয়ে গেল। এই কথাটাকে কিভাবে করা যায়? Nearest integer টাকে how can you define this nearest integer? Tell me. Any idea?
No.
No idea? How can you define this nearest integer?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay. No, sir. So it would be like this. It would be like this. X floor, এটার ক্ষেত্রে নিয়ারেস্ট ইন্টিজারটা কি? এটা আগে দেব। সেটা হচ্ছে x floor should be smaller equal to n, should be smaller equal to n, and it should be greater or equal to n minus 1. Did you get it?
Yes.
That is the definition of nearest integer. Now উল্টাটা লেখা আছে। The nearest integer definition হচ্ছে এরকম and should be smaller or equal to x. So this is the definition of nearest integer in case of float. Did you get it? Right? And how about this? What is the definition of nearest integer there? In this case, the definition of nearest integer is like this. X should be smaller than আমি এরকম দেখেন this one x is between n and n plus 1, and in this case what is the definition of nearest integer? It is like this. So it would be
n plus 1.
x is between n plus 1.
Right.
So both cases, this is the definition of nearest integer. Do you have any problem? Then you can ask the question. Okay. All right, guys. We should stop here today. Next class, we'll start with new topic.
Sir,
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, it's regarding the mean.
Yes.
Sir, will we have the question like we had in the quiz, like
No,
NCQ?
no. Most probably different question. The meat would be combined. All the section would have the same meat.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Sir.
And sir,
Yes.
Sir,
what is the syllabus for the mid, sir?
Mid syllabus is completed up to today's class.
Okay.
Yes.
And sir, like there are some questions that are actually relatively easier and doesn't actually require 5 minutes, but there are some questions
I
which
don't get it. Some question related what and some question related what?
no, there are some questions that doesn't actually require 5 minutes. Some are like relatively easy. So some many of us can do them in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. But there are some questions which actually requires a little more time, like more than 5 minutes, like 6 minutes or 7 minutes. Some of them. So if we have the whole time together, we can like allocate our time on each of the questions.
You don't get it. Some question, no question read more than 5 minutes. All questions by myself can be done within 2 minutes. But I gave you 5 minutes. Okay. The problem is you might think one question is taken by you for 2 minutes, but many students require that question to be solved in 5 minutes. So you cannot say like that I can solve it 2 minutes so that everybody can solve it 2 minutes.
No,
Many
sir.
people-
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if we have the whole questions and like the whole time together, we can allocate it ourselves. Like I'm good at subtopic A. Someone is good at subtopic B.
That's okay. That's why it is a new type of exam. That is the new type of exam. It is followed in subject GM. So that question is there is no reverse back. Once you have to finish, This way you have to complete. This is a new type of exam. Okay. So try to make strategy for this type of exam. Okay.
Sir, yeah, like it's totally okay that I'll have to finish question 1 and then proceed and so on.
G.
Like this format is okay, but that restricted time is like actually hampering us. Like it could have been that you give us a whole 30 minutes and we'll have to finish the exam by 30 minutes, no matter
Yes.
what.
Yes.
But like limiting it 5 minutes for each question is actually somewhat, I think, unfair for some of us, because not all of us is good at all the topics.
Yes.
Some in some topics we need a little more time. In some topics we need little less time.
But all the questions are set in such a way so that you can solve any question in 2 minutes. So that is the catch. So what is the difference? There is no difference there. You can solve any question in 2 minutes. You see, the question you made wrong. It is not because of any kind of calculation. You did not understand the question. That's why you made the mistake. It is not in your head that not P or Q imply is nothing but P implies Q. So somehow if you know this thing, then it is a only 1 second task. Am I right?
uh, and sir, one more thing here.
Yes.
P, like this thing, uh, this thing
Yes.
that you wrote, P implies Q is equal Q,
Mhm.
like inferencing. This means P and P implies Q, right?
Mhm.
P and P implies Q equals Q, right?
Yes, yes. P and P implies Q.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in the question, there was nowhere mentioned that it rains and it does not rain, or Disha will not study. Like the and was not mentioned anywhere.
But if you go to logical inference, you see all the questions I have done in the class. All the question we assume that the first one is true, then the second one is true. It is always considered then all both of this true. That is the one of the basic of the inference here. Can you remember? We said if P1, P2 up to Pn is given, then actually we join this with P1 and P2 up to Pn. Okay, then we are trying to prove Q. And I also give you a very good hint why we join with and. Can you remember? So that is always considered implicitly in case of inference. So there is no doubt about that one, and we should not have any doubt about that one. Am I right? That is the basic of logical inference. Am I right, Indrama?
Yes, sir.
Can you remember that thing?
I guess, yeah.
You should. You should. That is the one of the basic of inference.
But sir, I still do think that the limited time for
Okay,
each question
okay,
is.
okay. Next time in the quiz, I will place the question more carefully, and I will give little more time. Like instead of 5 minutes, I might give you 6 minutes. But it is very wrong that you need to give total 1 hour, and then you are going to submit. Because if I give total 1 hour, the whole process of this online exam would be collapsed. You might be honest, but there are many people who knows how to cheat. And if I give you whole 1 hour, I know that maximum people will cheat. So please don't argue about that issue. Okay?
Okay, sir.
If the exam is happening in IUB campus, not at your home, then I have no problem giving you 1 hour. But as you are doing it from the home, I'm sorry to say I cannot do that. Did you understand my concept?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Sir, stop recording first.
Yes, yes.